So when I first started to design for a job, for a living, it was really scary for me to have to do multiple page documents. They were really frightening. And I would be really nervous if I had to go to work and do one because they're scary. There's a lot of pages. There's a lot of things to consider. So what I'm hoping to do with this several steps of this demo tonight is demystify some of the processes and show you some of the thinking behind making it not scary. So I'm going to go over to OpenOffice where I have this article which is all over the place, how it's formatted. It's not going to be helpful to me to have all this formatting in there. So I'm actually going to just strip out all the formatting. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Try to just strip out all the formatting. So I'll select the entire thing. It's doing something weird up there. Don't know what that's about. And I'm just dragging through the entire document. And I'm going to set the whole thing just on the same size. I'll go with size 12, and I'll click bold on, and I'll click it off, and that'll clear everything out. Now I know for sure that there's plenty of extra paragraph returns in this document. If I look through here, I can see these large gaps and uneven spacing and other problems, but InDesign has tools for making that more obvious where the problems are, and I'll show you some of the keys to fixing those. So now I've copied the document. Make sure I really did. And hi. Thanks.
I might let you borrow this tonight.
All right, cool.
We'll see, that might improve your at least.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now I'm going to open this up and go and look at the top here where I started, page 1. This is the type tool, and I'm going to click in this text box that was made when I created this document. If you recall, when I started the new document, I said insert automatic text frame, and now I'm going to paste Command V, and it now pasted the entire article, which actually only took up 3 pages, and I can see that over here in this page panel. But I assure you it will end up taking up a lot more than 3 pages when I'm done. All right, so there we are, and I can save that, and I just saved that file. Now, talking about type hierarchy in relationship to white space, to contrast, to emphasis are the first things I want to talk about. So already open before you arrived is this document that I've begun to start laying out in InDesign. This document contains a very simple layout where I'm first working with the body copy. If I select this text over here, this is the body copy. And in InDesign, I have style panels, and I'm looking for the most important one, and that's paragraph styles. Paragraph styles are the most important styles in an InDesign document because when you use them properly, you have control over your document and over documents related to your document. And if you keep names very consistent across documents, you can import your style palettes and make use of them, change them out by just changing a few characteristics of them, and change the whole document globally throughout the entire document. So the first thing I wanted to mention regarding this document that I've already started is if I zoom in on the type here that I've selected, you can see it says basic paragraph here. If I switch over to the other InDesign document and I zoom in here and I select the type on the first page, looks like I lost a letter because it says he, the short answer is, instead of the short answer is, he, short answer, the short answer. And I select this type, it also says basic paragraph. If I double click on this one and open it up and I go to basic character formats, this one says Minion Pro. If I switch to the other document and I double click on this, This one says, under basic character formats, Georgia. So you can preclude by looking at this brand new InDesign document that just has 3 pages of type jammed into it, and its basic paragraph is using Minion, that I changed the font family for the basic character formats in the previous document, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to change this to Georgia. That would be with a G. Okay, Georgia. So I just changed it here in the paragraph style options panel, and the whole document now is changed to that. It wasn't that I had it selected, it was that I actually changed it in here. This is the master setting for the entire document right now. So if I double click on this again, and I go to basic character formats, and I change the size to 13, and I change the leading, let's say, to 16, it changes in the whole document. And I'll click OK. Now I'm going to switch back to, oh, typo there while I'm at it. Okay. So now I'm going to switch back to this document and show you that I've added something here. This one says header plus. This one, when I select it over here in the character style panel, paragraph style panel, shows me that this is a header. And there's also something else in here called table of contents, which I may or may not get to later. But if I want to use this header style in my other document, I should just be able to do that. If I switch between these two documents, you can see I don't have that one in here. So to get it in here, I'm going to do that thing I told you about called library. So this is kind of an odd trick. There's more than one way to do this. I could simply just look at the settings for this, but this is one way I can do this. So I'm going to copy this little text that says the astrological sun, and I'm going to go to my other document, and essentially I'm going to go to one of the blank pages I have and clicking, I believe I clicked, and paste it. Did anything happen? No, it did not. I must not have copied properly. Something did not happen. Edit copy. That is copied. Switching documents. Try it again and paste. Your teacher is landing on a dead brain cell and has no idea why. All right, I'm going to try actually just taking these 3 lines of text and copying them. I'm going to switch documents. And in fact, I'm going to throw this text box away on page 5 and create a new text box. And the reason why I'm creating a new text box is I want to make sure that it's not being overridden by the only style I have in here, which is basic paragraph. When I paste that in now, life is good, and you can see that I now have header in here as well. So that's part of that library function where I easily can just copy and paste. I can take this chunk as well, and if I go to Window Libraries, there it is, CC Libraries, I'm looking for L. I could take this piece of text and put it in here. Just move it over and drop it down on there. I should be able to move that right in there. And it does not want to do it, and I am crying. I should just be able to move this box into that panel one more time. I don't want it squished like that. All right, well, I'm flailing on this right now. Why? What is this? Add graphic, add character style. Doesn't want to do it. All right, I'll come back to this library thing a little later on. So, in any case, when I pasted it into my secondary document, there it is, and I can see the styles in the style panel. It's like a little mini database situation. And now I can come through this document and change things. So, if I select this line, your sun sign, and click header, I get this type. If I'm looking here in the paragraph panel, I can see it's 18 on 15.5. That doesn't seem good. 18-point type on 15-point leading. Is that so tiny, or can you read that? Can you see it okay? You may have to. Can some people see it? No, well, if you can't see it, you might want to stand up and look at it. Because right up here, there's these numbers that's telling me what the size of the font is. Okay, but the leading is less than the typeface. So it wants to be at least as much and probably at least 2 points more. That's a general rule, that your leading or line spacing wants to be at least 2 points larger than your actual line spacing. So that looks correct to me now. That looks better. And in fact, now that I've changed that, or at least altered that a little bit, I want to save this. I'm showing you how to save this as its own paragraph style. So I'm going to do New Paragraph Style from the flyout menu. And remember, this is being recorded, so don't panic. Okay? And I'm just going to actually, instead of making it into a new style, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to choose Redefine Style, which overrode the existing settings. If I click on this one, and it looks fine. If I look at these settings by double-clicking header, basic character formats, it's actually using that 15.5. I don't know how I let that slide, but it looks okay. Now look over here, this one, on the first document. When I select this line of text that says your planetary positions, notice it shows headline with a plus on it. Do you see that? Headline with a plus. Again, I'm switching documents. If I come over to this bit of type, and also should mention that with this selected, you can see it's 40-point type, and this one is 18, right? So this says header plus, and this says header. This says header plus because it's 40 points. So if I come over to my other document, there we go, and I want this to be 40. So I'm going to click in this field and use the up arrow with the shift key, and now it is at 40 points. Here it says header plus, and it looks very scary with that 15 or even 20-point leading. I need this to be at least 42 for that to not be messed up. Okay, so that's the formula. It's always at least 2 points more, minimum of 2 points. If you use 40 on 40-point lead with 40-point type, that's called set solid. And you use that sometimes for magazine covers where you want all the type to fit really tight. That's called set solid, but this is set average, 40 on 42. Now you can see it says header plus. Well, I don't want this to stay saying header plus. I want to have a style that's really the biggest style. So this one I'm going to do instead of a redefined style, I'm going to choose new paragraph style. And I'm going to call this one big header. And there's a checkbox here. I'm making sure it's clicked apply style to selection, and I'm clicking OK. If I select it, I can see it's 40 on 42, and if I look at it when it's selected here, it should say big header. Let's just go now to the next area here where I need a headline. Here I wouldn't put the giant one because that's not the main title, it's just a regular header. And I think that I have an easy short headline here every once in a while. Now, all of this mess that I told you I would tell you about, I'm going to tell you about now. Why InDesign is the program to use for making multiple page documents besides a lot of tools like Page Palette, which we've already started to look at, and paragraph styles, is that we can look at a document and see hidden things in it. If I go to type, the type menu, and I do this choice called show hidden characters, I can see every paragraph return in this document, and that is incredibly helpful. That shows me every place where I have multiple paragraph returns, which if you are going to design pages with multiple pages of text, you have to know this thing I'm teaching you. I'm telling you the big secret of type design tonight, okay? The big secret of type design is not to, in InDesign in any case, is not to ever use 2 paragraph returns in a row to make air between paragraphs. If you want to make proper air between paragraphs, you use a setting called space before and space after a paragraph. So I'm going to come over here to where the body type is and click. And if you see here, this is called basic paragraph. I normally would make this its own font called Body Style. But lately I've been just trying to show people what the point is of even having this basic paragraph style and using it more. But it's based on, these settings that are based on, is based on what InDesign, what Adobe set. If you double click on this, I'm going to go inside of this style by double clicking on it. There's a setting in here called indents and spacing. Indent, you know what that is. That moves it in from the margin. But spacing is something people don't know exists. You can add a space before and after a paragraph. This is paragraph style spacing. So after a paragraph means here I can put 1/8 of an inch between those paragraphs. This is 0.125. That equals 1/8 of an inch. And because the preview checkbox is on, you can see it changing here. It opened up the space here between those paragraphs. Okay, so before that wasn't there. It was like this, and it was like, ew. And now, without having to add extra line breaks, I'm adding space after a paragraph. Okay? That makes it much more legible. Then if I go over here again to basic character formats, and I have 13-point type on 16-point leading if I increase leading, right? So normally it would be 13 on 15. I added a little, one more point, but I might want it to be even more than that. That makes it much more legible too, opening up the leading. Now, depending upon the size of your subhead, you may also want space before a paragraph, but right now this one is set with those two essential settings. It has the spacing of space after at 0.1875, less than 1/4 of an inch, and then over in basic character formats, I've opened up the leading 5 points more than the size. That's a personal taste thing, and you might look different from font size to font size, and I can hand change that to 17. So now when I click on and off preview, you can see the difference there. Okay. All right, so I'm really happy with it except for one thing, and that is I want to show you one more setting, and then we'll stop for a second. I'm going to go hyphenation. I've just clicked here. This is the hyphenation settings for the paragraph style for basic paragraph. There's the name. And I want it to not hyphenate at all. Another night I'll tell you about these exceptions, but tonight no hyphens. So I've clicked off hyphenate, and so I have no hyphenation in the entire document now except if I had a hyphenation in a headline, which I don't think I do. And now just looking at this, it's so much better already just with the space after and the proper leading. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording